What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Team Building Podcast, where you learn how to build a dominant real estate team in your market. And we have a phenomenal guest here today. We're talking about how to run an investment side of your business in parallel with your residential real estate team, as well as how to grow and do more transactions next year without necessarily adding more people. And our guest today is Jennifer Spencer out of Raleigh, North Carolina. We'll bring her in just a second. First, we have the man, the myth, the legend, the ever-shrinking man himself, Jeff Cohn is here. Jeff, what's up today?
Here we go. Super excited about this call. You know, it's funny, agents are always so concerned with how to learn how to sell real estate, and then the evolution is how to run a real estate sales team of people that sell real estate. And the final part of that is how to invest in residential and commercial real estate. So I myself have gotten into that over the last 2 years, buying over 50 doors. I've had a lot of success both flipping, wholesaling, retailing, and now holding a majority of our properties. And we're going to get to learn from Jennifer how she's done that. So Jennifer, thank you so much for jumping on our podcast today. And if you don't mind, why don't you start off by letting our audience know a little bit more about your team, how you're set up, and how your success has been over the last couple of years.
Well, thanks for having me here. I'm glad to be here. And I've been in real estate for 22 years. I have a team of 15 people. Everyone on the team specializes in their roles. We have a listing broker, we have 4 buyer agents, we have an inside sales agent, a marketing coordinator, a field manager / property manager, a bookkeeper, a marketing coordinator. I'm not sure if I said that one already. And our team does close to 200 transactions a year.
Okay, and how many agents?
So we have, out of the 15, I think 11 are agents.
Okay, you said you had an ISA as well?
Yes.
An internal sales agent? Okay,
right.
Any virtual yet?
No virtual.
Okay, cool. That's awesome. So what did you guys end up closing out last year, and where will you end up this year?
Last year we did 184 transactions, and we're going to be, and we're having our best year we've ever had this year, a little bit higher than we were last year, not a whole lot more.
Is the market up or down in your marketplace right now?
Right now, I'd say as of this moment, there's a little bit of a pullback. It's slowing down a bit.
Yeah, we're seeing that
but
too.
Overall, for the year, we're up.
Okay. For 200 sides in North Carolina, you said you're in the Raleigh area?
Yes.
Was that right? What's your commission? What's your typical gross commission then for 200 sides? Do you know where you're at?
Our average sale price the last 2 years has hovered right around $330,000. This year, our average sale price was $378,000. So our commission ends up somewhere between $8,000 to $10,000. We have a little bit of a unique situation here in that commissions are not split evenly between listing side and buyer side, and I don't know of any other city that does that.
How do you split it?
Omaha's like that. Yeah.
60-40? Listing side keeps 60?
Yeah. For example, in my case, I might list a property for 6%, and then I would offer the buyer agent 2.4%.
Yeah.
And that would be competitive in this market.
Yep. You're right. Yeah. That is really unique. That is how they do it in Omaha, Nebraska as well, but there's not a lot of markets across the country that do it that way. Okay. And that's great when you're in a seller's market. It sucks when you're in a buyer's market.
That's right.
Do you guys, if you have sales within the brokerage, do you split it 50-50? Or within the team?
Within the brokerage, no. I'm sorry, I misunderstood the question. No, it's the same type of split. The way the brokerage works is almost everyone on my team is salary based. Now, my buyer agents are not salary based, but our splits are a little different. Their splits are lower because they do not do lead generation and they don't do contract to close. So their role is from the time the appointment is scheduled, they meet with a client, a prospective buyer, and they take them all the way through showing them houses and negotiating an offer to purchase. But once they go under contract, the buyer then works with a closing broker.
So when you say they don't generate leads, all the leads are coming from your sphere of influence and your internal sales agent and your internet lead generation efforts.
That's right.
So what happens if a lead does come from their sphere of influence? They get compensated
They would
the same
receive
way?
a referral fee for that. So in addition to their normal split, they would get a referral fee.
Do you mind sharing with our audience what your average agent's salary is and then how they're compensated, like in a commission sense?
They're all averaging between $80,000 and $120,000 a year. Okay. And the way we do the split is they earn 35% of what the firm earns.
Okay, so they get 35% net in addition to their salary.
No, I'm sorry. They are 100%
Commission.
commission,
Okay.
but they're earning their annual earnings in a year are between 80 and 120,000.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, so you don't have agents that are getting paid salary.
My listing broker is. My
Okay.
inside sales agent is receiving a salary.
Right.
The closing
It's just
brokers
the
are
four.
salary,
It's just the
but
four
buyer
buyers
agents.
agents that are. Yeah, it's just the you've got
Commission.
4 buyers agents. Those are the only ones that are commission only, right?
That's right. That's right.
But
Yeah,
still, to your point, they're on average, they're getting 35% of the net that the company earns. But to
Right.
your point, they're not having to do lead gen. They're not doing contract to close. They get to focus on going on appointments, signing exclusive agency agreements, putting buyers under contract. They're not even going on listing appointments, right? That's your buyer
right.
sales team. Okay.
That's
And then
right.
your listing partner, who you're sending all your listing leads to that come through the pipeline and your sphere, they're just getting a flat salary and maybe a small bonus every listing sale.
Exactly.
Okay.
So she gets an annual salary, and then every time she takes a new listing, she gets a bonus, $150 bonus. And when the listing closes, she gets another $150 bonus.
Okay.
But
So
she
real quick,
did 100 listings, so it adds up.
right. And all of them go to her, right?
Right.
She lists everything on your team.
That's right.
Okay. And I've heard of this model, and this model works great for people that, that want to have a buyer sales force and a listing sales force. And this is going kind of in line with MREA. Are you with Keller Williams?
No, I've never been affiliated with a franchise before. I'm
Really?
only ever been Spencer Properties, so.
Okay, awesome. So this is kind of the mindset of Gary Keller. He would talk about having, subject matter experts and buyers agents, listing agents, outbound salespeople, and I think that model works great. The challenge I've had, and I'm always going to bring up a little bit of contradictory just for our listeners to get to choose which route they want to go, but I feel like the challenge for us has been retaining strong buyers agents who want to list property. So how have you guys handled that with the 4 buyer specialists? They're making 80 to 120 a year, but what if they say, well, Jennifer, I have all these listing opportunities that I'm getting paid a referral fee on. I want to keep the whole commission. I don't want to just get the referral fee. How have you handled that?
Well, I think a lot of it comes down to selecting the right team members. I think if you want someone who's going to be a lead generation source, you have to hire high D personalities in the disc profile.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the type of people that we've hired to be buyer agents. They are excellent negotiators, excellent relationship people, but they're
ISs?
not. They're all high S's,
Mm-hmm.
and they're very, very good in their role. They really enjoy being out with the buyers. They don't want to be handling all the other parts of the business. They don't really care about doing the repair negotiations. They don't really care about coming in and doing lead generation calls. So they love that they can make, and I think this is the key piece. If an agent can make $100,000 a year doing the parts of the job they love best, they stay. And my buyer agents have been with me, 5 to 8 years, all of them.
Wow.
And I don't foresee that changing. I mean, I think they'll stay with me for the duration.
Sure.
Because they love their job.
Do you have any idea for gross commission income that came into your brokerage or onto your team? Do you know how much commission you're paying out to the agents? And that could be salaried positions on the buyer's agent side, compensation on the listing agent side. Do you know how much overall is commission paid out to the agent?
Jeff, just to clarify the question, as a percentage of
So
what are you paying for labor,
basically? So for example, on our team, and anyone listening, this is a great practice for you as well to know if your business could be successful without you personally selling, because a lot of team leaders are rainmakers selling as well. You have to take yourself out of the wheel if you're tallying it up. But our team last year did $3.2 million in gross commission. We paid out 71% of that in agent commissions. And so our organization kept 29%. And then, of course, we have overhead and everything else. We ended up netting about 20%. And so what's interesting, and the point I wanted to make before you respond, Jennifer, is every team can set up their comp plan however makes the most sense for them and the way they hire and the culture that they've created. But at the end of the day, there's a pattern that I've seen time and time again with top teams and brokerages. And usually that number that they pay out to agents as an average is around 70% of their gross commission income. Right. And I think based on what you've told me, I think you pay out less, which is great for you if you can continue to maintain that.
So yes, I was just running. I've never calculated the percentage, but I can tell you my payroll is about $40,000 a month.
But does that include the salary you're paying your admin as well?
Yes.
The payroll,
That's all. That's my payroll, but that doesn't include what I'm paying the buyer agents. So the buyer agents is another $250,000 a year. So what does that end up being? 40,000 a month is 480, right? And so 500,000 plus another, so about 750,000 of my. Let's see. I think our GCI this year is going to be right at 1.8 million. So.
Sure, about 50%.
Let's just say 50%, almost 50%.
And it's interesting. The first year I ran my team, back in 2012, was my first full year, and we paid out 60% in agent commissions because a lot of people worked our internet leads at a 50-50 split. We allow our agents to go all the way up to an 80-20 with their sphere leads. And since it's been a seller's market, our agents have gravitated away from our internet leads. We only did 15% from internet leads this year. And majority of their business is coming from their sphere, which is great for them because they're making more. But to my bottom line, I've gone from 60 to 71% getting paid out to agents. That's an 11% loss on $3 million. It's $330,000 that I technically lost. And so the solution to that is finding more agents to work my internet leads, which is what I'm working on right now. So let's segue into that. And this is a fun exercise that everyone can kind of think about when they look at what they're paying out to agent commissions. The segue I'd like to have is off the record. Before we came on live, we were talking a little bit about the growth of our teams, and you had mentioned that you really don't want to have to grow in agent count. You'd rather continue to grow your business and grow their business. So talk to that mindset, because I've always been a big believer of if you want to double your sales, double your agent count. And if you want to double again, double your agent count again. What's your mindset behind kind of keeping the sales team how it is today, but continuing to help them grow, and how are you going to do that?
Right. Well, part of how we're structured is everything that we do under my name. So it's
Is that your husband in the background?
That is my husband in the background.
Hi, sweetie. Hey, buddy. Did you put up the Christmas tree? Did he put the Christmas tree up? What's up? How are you? He's a good sport. Tell him 10,000 people just saw him do a thumbs up.
I'll tell him. I'll pass that on. But where we are is everyone on the team does business under my name. So we're acting really as one agent. We've taken one agent's job and split it 15 ways. And in order to operate cohesively and with great communication and to deliver really high-level client service, I think we're a good size. I think once we get any bigger, the communication will become difficult. The other piece to it is, what I'm looking to do. I want to retain. We've already talked about retaining the agents on the team. In order to retain them, I want to be able to continue to pay them well and pay them more. I know some of my math wasn't adding up before. I said 4 buyer agents making $250,000 a year, but I do have one buyer agent who's semi-retired. Mm-hmm. So she just kind of fills in for the others. So I should say I have 3 full-time buyer agents.
Okay.
To keep everybody, I want to be able to keep, I want their jobs and roles to grow and their salaries and commission income to grow. And we have really got it dialed down with our specialization, where we've got the capacity to do more business without adding any more people to the team. And that keeps the team in communicating well, working well, so less for me to manage, because I think the more people I manage, the more difficult my job is. So it's really working well, and I want to keep that in place, but continue to grow with the number we have in place.
So it's a great point you bring up, and I know a lot of people struggle with this. It's ultimately you haven't reached your point of diminishing returns. You haven't gotten everything out of every person in every position, and you feel like there can be growth. The challenge is when every one of those buyer specialists and your listing specialists have no more time. They're putting in their 50 hours a week or 10 hours a week, whatever they've dedicated. But you're happy. Yep, you're good with the dollar amount you're able to generate and your current role. Our audience, there are people listening that think, okay, well, you've built this beautiful system, this wheel, if you will. You can hire people to manage. You've leveraged everything else. You can hire someone else to manage, and your focus could be making sure if you doubled your team size or tripled your team size, that those 700 clients you represent in 2019 get the exact same service, if not better service, than what your clients got in 2018. And that's where my mindset had to shift when I was still servicing deals. In 2014, I quit servicing altogether, and I ran your model for 2 years, and it worked great for us. But we got to this point where I was like, okay, we'll continually sell 50 million, and I'll keep making $300,000-400,000, but I wanted to make $1 million net. That was always my number. And someone I'm really close to said, Jeff, what if you just doubled your team size? And it was such an easy comment, but I'm like, dude, you know what that would mean? To have to double my, I had 24 agents. I'm like, to have 50 agents, that'd be insane. And so now I'm at 50 agents, and guess what? I want to double my team size again. Yeah. So my goal is to be at 100 agents and just continue to grow. But you've made a bunch of great points, and there's probably more people in your camp saying, screw that, I don't want 50 agents. I'd rather have like 5 or 6 ninjas that I'm really happy with, and I don't want to have to grow that much bigger. Right. I'm just kind of a freak of nature, and I'm just like, I don't want to ever stop growing. I want to keep adding and adding and adding and bringing more value to all these additional agents that choose to plug in.
And I may get to that point as well. My vision now is 300 closed transactions with 15 people in 2020.
And that would be huge. That's 33% increase. Yeah,
right.
That'd be huge.
And I really believe, and we've spent time as a team figuring out how we can do 300 transactions with 15 people, and we've got it figured out. There's a couple people that are part-time now that are going to be going full-time because their children will be getting a little older. And anyway, we've got it figured out how we can keep our 15 people and do the 300 transactions. Right now, and I read Gary Keller's Millionaire Real Estate Agent too, and of course the idea of netting $1 million a few years ago when I read that, I don't know if it was 7 or 8 and 10 when it was I read it, but I said the idea of that seemed outrageous, and here I am. Here I am where I'm to that point, or very close. I mean, I get real close to that net every year, and I'm good. I mean, I'm good. Yeah. I just, at this point, and I've said this to my team, I'm good with the profitability of the firm and what I'm making, and I'm down to where I work about 2 days a week, which is another goal of mine.
Yep.
I'm in a good place. What I'm doing now, the growth of 300 transactions, is because I want to be able to pay everybody on my team really well. Really
I
well,
love it.
Because
you're coming from a place of contribution. You're good. You want to make sure everyone else within your organization is good, and that's a true sign of a true leader. So I think that's awesome, Jennifer. That's kind of where your focus is at.
I think there's something that you said there, Jennifer, where you said that the whole team is sat down together, and I think that's one of the things that if you watch an organization that grows only by adding people, it can be hard to get the buy-in of the people who are already there. So that there always still has to be something in it for the people that are already there to sell them the vision on how they can continue to grow, even if your main focus is adding people like it is for Jeff. So Jeff, you have an interesting challenge where you have to keep selling and reselling your own admin team, your own leadership on the virtues of growing and how their role fits into that. Jennifer, you have the advantage of saying, look, we're not going to add a whole bunch of new people. It's about you guys. Like, how can we grow you guys in your business? And let's sit down together and figure out how we can do that. And you've already identified the areas where you have more capacity, right, both on the service and the sales side. So maybe there's, another ISA or something like that might come into play at some point, or another closing coordinator, but those can grow, but the agent count can stay the same, which I think is really interesting, and that will allow you to net more. And then there's the investment side, which we haven't even got to yet, because you're essentially running an investment business, which is how you started, in parallel with the team. So how are you guys incorporating the investment side into this? Because I feel like there's probably a lot of opportunities there to increase and do more per deal if you start working in more of the investment side.
Right. Well, for me, a big part of the goal has always been passive income, and I'm projecting forward as I age and my husband ages. How do we ensure that we have an income, and as we want to or need to work less. So that's where the investment properties come in. They give us that passive income, and our original goal was, we want to have 10 rental houses by the time we retire. So that'll, averaging $1,500 a month, between $1,000 and $1,500 a month. That gives us $12,000 a month income. We could live on that. Well, then we bought the first 10 back when we were in our 20s. And then we said, you know what? This is a really good way of earning passive income. So now we've continued to add to that, and I don't really want to pay off the properties. I want them to always be leveraged. So that's why I mentioned earlier when we were talking before the show that we bought 27 properties this year that we paid cash, but we want to pull out half of the equity in those houses and have those leveraged. So in 2 years, we will we will take that equity out of those homes and invest it into new properties and continue to leverage that way over time.
Yep.
Because just so we can see a better return on that investment.
Yep, that's awesome.
Still have a pretty decent cash flow.
I'm curious, Jeff, because we talked about, Jennifer, you and I talked a little bit about 1031 exchanges, and I don't, Jeff, you and I have literally never brought up the topic of 1031 exchanges on the show in the history of the show.
We have not.
Are you guys messing around with 1031 exchanges in the investment acquisition side of the business much?
My team, or are you asking Jennifer?
Yours.
Yeah,
yours.
so my position on 1031s, just for the audience to know, this is the in a nutshell explanation, is the profit or the sale price that you have of a property. If you take that money and the profit and turn right around and buy another property of equal or higher value, then the IRS doesn't charge you any sales tax on the profit that you earn off of your sale. Our goal is acquisition, just like Jennifer. So we flip this year. Our goal is to flip next year, 2019. Our goal is to flip 100 properties. When I say that, we want to acquire 100. We want to hold 50 and flip the other 50. And we're doing that essentially to cover our debt obligation, our tax liability on the acquisition side. So we have a really strategic way we're going about our acquisition because of the funding that we found. But Jennifer, I totally agree with you on leverage, and I love the 50%. That's where I think somebody should be, because even if we see a huge shift, you're covering your debt obligation, that month-to-month revenue that you have coming in. And this strategy is a no-brainer for anyone listening that hasn't started doing it. I love that you said you did it in your 20s. I did the same. Your first 10 homes, the thing that we all have access to that people don't know is your first 10 you can get on 30-year fixed conventional loans. That's a huge give that the government gives us to invest in 10 homes. And there's no dollar amount connected to that. So you could invest in 10 $200,000 houses or 10 $150,000 houses. So you should at least have 10 homes on a conventional. A question I was going to ask you, Jennifer, is if you did that, and then also can both spouses have 10 homes? Can you have 10 and can your husband have 10? My guess is you only can have 10 as a couple, but I'm not sure. Do you guys have anything right now?
That's an interesting question. I always assumed it was just 10 per couple, but
I would think so.
If we applied for them separately,
I would try to. So where I was going with this is screw the 50% position. You could go right now if you bought all those with cash and pull 80% of the value out, not have to pay PMI, and take, you have, I don't know how many houses you have all paid off, but you 80%, man, you could buy a lot more property. Be it that we're in a shifting market, it might not be the best timing right now unless you're buying them right. But it is something that we're continually looking at as we spend the money.
When we started out, our first houses, we were able at that point to get loans 10% down on an investment property, and we had them all leveraged 90%, which was too tight. It was too tight. It was
tight. That's tight.
Every rent check mattered. Every single thing was. There was no. They were break even. There was no positive cash flow, but we weren't subsidizing them either. But boy, it was tight. There was no room for error. So I have gone back and forth between where is the ideal leverage point, because there is a lot of appeal to the numbers look so much better when you're leveraging them 80%. Yeah. But the cash flow is not as good, so it's just kind of a matter of there's higher risk.
I loved your mindset on how you're choosing to build your team out, and I think that same mindset should be applied to how you build your rental property portfolio. You should get to a point where you say, you know what, I think we're good here. The only time I can see that break down, because my number used to be 100 doors, and now my number is 1,000 doors. And the reason for that is I can get to 100 doors and then start paying them down. But if I can find properties that I can acquire at 30% below market, which is what I'm averaging right now, it would be stupid not to purchase those properties. So I think we get into this cycle. When you build a machine to buy 100, that machine's not just going to go away. That'd be craziness. The other thing is you don't have to pay tax if you acquire a property. So like right now, and I'm curious how you guys do this on your end, but we will go and we'll get fully funded from a bank. As long as we can find property for 15% below market, they'll loan us up to 85% of the after appraised value, not off of my purchase price, which a lot of national franchises or banks are going to require it to be based on a purchase price. So if I find a house for 15% below market, I can fully fund it. We're finding homes 30% below market, and we're getting $20,000 checks written to us at closing. We're making 20 on average on our flips and our wholesales, but we have to pay taxes on the 20 if we flip it. If we hold it and the bank gives us 20%, we're still in a strong equity position, 15% usually, and we get a check for $20,000 that's non-taxed. Just like if somebody listening to this would refinance their home loan or do a HELOC and pull $20,000, $30,000 equity out of your house, you don't pay taxes on that. So that's been a really interesting strategy for us to then go and acquire flip property with that money. So back to Matt's question, full circle, we don't do the 1031, but we are pulling money out that's non-taxed by pulling it out of the equity in the property through the financing.
Okay, that makes sense. All right, so Jennifer, you've got a little bit of a structure with your team where you've got some sharing of resources and a couple people that kind of do work for both. So let's talk about that for a brief second.
Yes, we have my field manager is the one who's our runner and also is the property manager. And then I have a bookkeeper who does keeps the books for both properties or both companies. So there's some overlap there. Well, and when we're identifying properties, I rely on the buyer department to identify the properties. We generally, just it's more of a mathematical process where they just run comps and look for the cap rate and identify the properties. We usually make offers sight unseen, but and then I do have an inspection specialist who goes out and inspects the property for me once we have it under contract to make sure we're a go.
You don't have a specific buyer specialist who is 100% responsible for the rental acquisition side of things? They all are part of that?
I do have one person who's it's actually my buyer side closing broker who does the analytics on identifying properties.
Is your sight unseen offer more of like an LOI or a letter of intent, and then once it's accepted, it's more of like a verbal acceptance, and then you go and do your inspections?
We just use a standard offer to purchase and contract, and we do zero due diligence, but we have usually a 3-day due diligence period, just enough time for my inspection specialist to go out and take a look, and then we usually close within. We let the seller pick the close date, but 5 or 6 days, 10 days, whatever we need.
What percentage of these homes you've acquired have come from just the simple process of going after traditional listings and having sellers in situations where they're willing to sell for up below market, and you're buying those? Are a lot of these leads coming from that? Okay.
Very
so
few.
What?
We
I know our
offer that to
listeners would
sellers.
like to know, where are they coming from? How did you acquire 30 houses in a year? That's really impressive.
We just go through the analytics, and
I'm asking what the audience wants you to say. So analytics of what? The houses on the MLS, Craigslist? Are you sending out postcards, making out direct dials, Google ads? Where are the leads coming from?
We've got almost everything through, I'd say almost everything came through MLS. I had probably 6 properties that didn't. So
how are you winning? How are you winning on those? Because in my market, and most markets I've talked to other agents that buy a lot, there's just too many investors on the MLS. So a lot of investors across the country are having more success outside of the MLS. So how are you winning in the MLS?
The way I won those properties was we made an offer that was fair market value. So you're buying yours 30% below value. We paid fair market value.
Okay.
We said we're buying them as is. We're not going to have an inspection. We're not going to have an appraisal. We're going to pay cash. You pick the close date. We can close as quickly as 7 days from now, and a 3-day due diligence period.
So in your marketplace, on average, what do homes rent for if they're purchased at market? Because there's some places in the country, if you bought at market, you're going to be upside down. Your cash flow is going to be upside down. A lot of places.
And that's the criteria for choosing a property. I'm looking for. It's pretty basic. I look at purchase. I look at rent minus taxes minus HOA fees. I want that to be 0.7% of the purchase. 0.7% of the purchase price.
Okay. So what does that end up?
0.7% of the purchase price needs to be rent minus HOA minus taxes. That's it. And then they cash flow.
Okay. Awesome. Well, that's great. You can find them on the MLS. Do you also try to make sure you're the first in? Or do you look at property that are 3 months old so that the seller's nervous it's not going to sell, or are you going day one and trying to buy it, cash sight unseen?
We did both. If we saw something new on the market, we'd move quickly. Since we didn't have to see the property, we would make the offer right away. And if we saw something that had been sitting on the market for a while, we said, well, this is a good opportunity. Generally, those we're not offering list price, so you have to get through that hurdle. But we went out on a lot of homes offering. I say we offered fair market value. It doesn't mean we offered list price.
No, of course not.
But
usually list price is not fair market value.
True. So We based it on what we looked at the rental comps and based our price on that. And if they were interested in the offer based on what made sense to us, then we would move forward. We
Just
made a
for our
lot of
listeners,
offers to.
what website do you use to find out rental income in different neighborhoods? I know a lot of people use Zillow.
We use a combination of Zillow and MLS.
Okay. And then you're funding those, you're just buying cash and then refining them afterwards.
That's right.
Okay. I don't know if our listeners have heard the acronym BRRRR, B-R-R-R, but that's our strategy. Ultimately, we buy, we renovate, we rent, we refinance, and then we repeat. Yeah. Buy, renovate, refinance, repeat. Buy, renovate, rent, refinance, repeat. And the beauty is you can pull money out of these properties, you guys, get all of your initial investment back, because not all of you are in a position to go spend $200,000 and have all cash to go into the deal. So you can still go with 20% down or 15% down, get into like a 3-year note or even a 12-month interest only, and then after the 12 months you refinance the loan, assuming the market continues hopefully strong, and you pull out as much equity as you can, and then you use that money to go buy the next one and then the next one. I hear so many agents say, I just don't have the money to do it. Yes, you do. You just haven't taken the time to figure out how to do it. So everybody has the ability to do it. So Jennifer, you're a great example. That's awesome. Let's segue quick, Matt. I know, Jennifer, you talked about kind of reaching this point in your business where you can continue to grow without adding agents, and now you have the investment wing. Are you in any other businesses, and or have you thought about any other businesses like title, insurance, mortgage, interior decorating, property management, new construction, development? There's so many options. And you said you're only working 2 days a week in your real estate business. Are you spending the rest of that time in leisure, service, or have you started building other ventures?
A few other ventures, nothing really significant. We've looked at getting into title. It's a little bit difficult in North Carolina, but I'm still pursuing that segment. Okay. We've also done some commercial investing, and we've bid on some commercial projects. Cool. And what I mean by commercial projects, there was one that we bid on recently was a government entity was looking for a fleet management facility, and we found a warehouse that we could convert, we could upfit to offer a fleet management facility, and we would just be the landlord, basically. So it's not very different from buy, renovate, rent. Yeah. You know, it was that same idea. And so we're moving into some things like that. But awesome. For the most part, it's primarily two things. It's the residential brokerage and residential investment properties.
Yep. So you talked about how you read the MREA, let's call it 10 years ago, and you thought, holy cow, how would anyone ever net $1 million? Now you're close to that. You said you work 2 days a week. Just to get our audience members excited, share with us some of the really awesome things your family's been able to do with this newfound freedom.
Well, I have 4 children, and I've got 2 in college, 1 in high school, 1 in middle school, and getting to this stage has really been my goal, is to have more freedom to spend with my family, especially as they get older and kind of have their own lives and their own schedules and whatnot. So, you know, we do a lot of traveling. We spend a lot of time together as a family, and I'm really enjoying this stage. So.
What are your top 2 or 3 family trips you've gone on?
Well, we just, our daughter just graduated from high school, and we tell each of the kids when they graduate they can go anywhere in the world they want to go. So she picked Costa Rica. Our son, when he graduated 2 years ago, picked Japan. Both of those were amazing trips. And we've been showing the kids the country when they were younger, and we had our grand finale of the United States tour. Last year we went to Alaska, all 6 of us, and this year we went to Hawaii. So those were the last two of our 2 trips of the U.S. tour. So those were really great trips. So.
That is awesome. Yep, and I love it. You know, I love spending a little bit of time talking about what this is all for. And it not just constantly being grow. And a lot of us, including myself, get stuck in this trap of just wanting to get bigger and grow and make more money. And it's ridiculous, because what's the point of it all, right? So growth is fun and the strategy around it, but we need to stop. And my mom would always say, stop and smell the roses. And you guys have certainly done that. I love that idea of letting the kids choose their senior trip and take them anywhere. That's awesome. Right. My family's similar. I have 3 kids. They're 13, 11, 9. Every summer we pick a different destination anywhere in the world. Right. and they chose the East Coast in the United States for next year's trip. I chose South Africa this year, so we spent a month in Cape Town and Victoria Falls. It was really fun, but we think it's just, it's fun to spend time with the family.
And you hit on another key thing in terms of what's it all for. Having more free time. It sounds like you're doing some of this too. On every Monday, Wednesday, Friday morning, we go to the gym. We're lifting weights, and then we go to yoga 3 days a week, and we feel good, and we're taking care of our health, and we're spending time with our family.
Did she say it looks like I'm doing that too? Thank you.
Yeah, I did. I did. Well,
I should unbutton this. I
heard
actually
you
had a
talking
good workout
about
this morning.
the workout, so.
Yeah, I've been hitting hard.
That.
He says ever shrinking man, and I said to Matt, don't ever introduce me as ever shrinking man, because it's going to put pressure on me that I have to keep shrinking, because at whatever point I stop and I reach my point of diminishing returns, which is going to happen soon, then I don't know how I'm going to be introduced. Then hopefully I'm growing again and adding muscle. I don't know. Yeah. I appreciate that. That's awesome. Well, this has been a great episode. I do want to invite anyone listening to come and attend one of our events. We're hosting 4 regionals, so maybe we'll do one close to North Carolina. Actually, no, we do have one coming up in Charleston at the end of March, early April. Would love to invite you. I don't know how long of a drive Charleston is, probably a couple hours. But we are hosting
for us, it's about 4 hours. Yeah.
Okay, 4 hours. You'd welcome to come for free. I'll buy you a ticket. But we're hosting an event in Charleston this next year, Vegas, Miami, Omaha several times. So go out onto our calendar, eliterealestatesystems.com, and check out those upcoming events. Those are team building workshops specifically. And then every year we host an event in Omaha. It's one of a kind where it's team specific. It's called the Team Building Summit. You can find the link on the Elite page, or it's the teambuildingsummit.com. We're selling tickets right now, early bird special. So get in on that. It's $297 to get the VIP ticket that's normally $497. And then, of course, Matt, I know we always invite our listeners. By the end of this year, we are trying to get 100 reviews on iTunes. I think we're up to like 75 reviews right now. So if you found value in this episode, please give Jennifer a shout out and give us a 5-star review on iTunes. And, of course, any other guests in the future. Everyone loves to get complimented, and we really appreciated all the information you shared with our guests today. You've built an amazing team, and I know you guys are going to continue to grow. So it's going to be fun to watch you guys grow.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for having me.
And Jennifer, what's the best way to connect with you, and especially if we can send referrals to your area or anything like that, investment deals, how can we connect?
You can reach me at 919-602-7411, or go to our website, spencerprop.com. It's Spencer and then prop.com.
Wow, there's her phone number. All right.
Right.
Don't bother her too much. Don't call after 5. Mondays and Wednesdays only. I don't know what the rules were, but I love it that you did that. I've done that a lot of times too, a long time ago, and it's amazing how few of people ever reached out. So I shared my phone number this morning on a podcast because I'm like, one out of the entire group will. So that's awesome.
All right. Well, thanks to everyone that was watching live. We had a ton of people. Logan Boise dropped in. Janine Massey dropped in. So, guys, we appreciate you kind of tucking in and watching live. So for those that are not live, thanks for listening on iTunes, Stitcher, whatever the case is. We appreciate it. You can always get the back episodes and the video versions on the website as well, eliterealestatesystems.com. Under the podcast tab, you can check out all the back episodes there. We've done a couple of them, like the episode we did, I think, last time with the founder of Sisu, where it was super heavy on visuals and screen share. So make sure to go back to the blog page for that episode to catch the video version there. And you can do that for any of our previous episodes. So once again, Jennifer, thank you so much. Jeff, appreciate it, guys.
Always
and
a pleasure.
We'll see everybody on the next one.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thanks, Matt.